10 years passed since humanity answered the Valon distress call. The galaxy had changed in ways nobody could have predicted. The Death World Accord had grown from a simple agreement into a galactic institution. 40 civilizations now participated, with humanity at its center. Commander Jiho was now Admiral Jiho, leading the entire Accord fleet. His hair had turned gray at the temples, but his eyes remained sharp. He stood on the bridge of his new flagship, the Unity, watching reports flow in from across known space. "Admiral, we have 3 requests for assistance this week," his first officer reported. "A plague on Tessian 9, an asteroid collision course with Krell 4, and some kind of invasive species on Olympus Prime. Dispatch medical teams to Tessian 9, divert Defense Group 3 to handle the asteroid, and send General Wujin to look at the invasive species," Jiho ordered. "And get me a direct line to Earth Command. I want to discuss expansion of the Accord fleet." The first officer hesitated. "Sir, some council members are concerned that humanity is gaining too much influence." Jiho sighed. "It was an old argument. Schedule a meeting with the concerned parties. Transparency is important. They need to see that we are not building an empire." On Thesara Prime, the planet looked nothing like it had 10 years ago. The cities had been rebuilt taller and stronger. The green moon in the sky was now a nature preserve where Valon and humans went for recreation. Earth plants and native Valon plants grew together in gardens throughout the city. Councillor Vekathara was old now. His 3 hearts beat slower than they once did. But he was content. His species had not only survived but thrived. The partnership with humanity had brought prosperity beyond imagination. He sat in a cafe owned by Private Hyunwoo, now Captain Hyunwoo of the Reserve Forces. The restaurant had expanded to 5 locations across Thesara Prime. The fusion cuisine had inspired a whole new culinary movement. "The usual, Counselor?" Hyunwoo asked cheerfully. "Yes, please," Vekthara replied. "And some of that earth beverage you call coffee. My physician says I should not drink it, but at my age I will enjoy what I enjoy." Hyunwoo laughed and prepared the order. A young Valon child approached Vekthara's table shyly. "Counselor, is it true you met the first humans who came to save us?" Vekthara smiled. "Yes, child. I was there when they arrived. What were they like?" "Terrifying and wonderful at the same time," Vekthara said honestly. "They came from a world that tried to kill them every day, but instead of becoming cruel, they learned to protect others. That is the human way." The child's parent, a younger Valon, approached. "Forgive my daughter's curiosity, Counselor. She is studying the liberation in school." "Curiosity is good," Vekthara said. "Never stop asking questions. That is how we learn." Across the galaxy, the 16 reclaimed worlds flourished. The Earth ecosystems had integrated with native life in unexpected ways. Scientists from multiple species studied the hybrid ecologies, learning new things about adaptation and survival. On Thesara 7, the desert world, the modified cacti had become a staple crop. They produced fruits rich in water and nutrients. The planet now exported food to other systems. On Thesara 11, the ice world, the Arctic fungi had created a new type of atmosphere processor. It was more efficient than anything previously designed. Engineers were adapting the technology for other cold planets. General Wu Jin, now Earth's chief xenobiologist, traveled constantly between worlds. He was old too, nearly 60, but his mind remained sharp. He stood on Olympus Prime, examining the invasive species that had prompted the distress call. "Interesting," he murmured, scanning the creature with his instruments. It looked like a cross between an Earth starfish and a Valon tree root. "This is not an invasion. This is evolution." The Olympian representative looked confused. "What do you mean?" "This species is a hybrid," Wujin explained. "Part Earth biology, part native Olympian biology. Life is adapting faster than we expected. The Earth species we introduced 10 years ago are not replacing native life. They are mixing with it, creating something new. Is that dangerous?" "Potentially," Wujin admitted. "But also beautiful. This is how life works. It does not stay in neat categories. It mixes, adapts, and creates new forms. We will need to monitor it carefully. But I think this is a positive development." He took samples of the hybrid creature and made careful notes. This discovery would require years of study. But that was good. It meant the galaxy was becoming more interconnected, not less. Lieutenant Da-hyun, now Ambassador Da-hyun, worked from her office on Thesara Prime. She coordinated cultural exchanges between dozens of species. The program had expanded beyond her wildest expectations. A young human student entered her office. "Ambassador, I have been accepted to study advanced engineering at the Veilon Technical Institute." Da-Hyun smiled warmly. "Congratulations. You will learn amazing things. The Veilon are excellent teachers." "I am nervous," the student admitted. "What if I do not fit in?" "You will fit in fine," Da-Hyun assured him. "When I first came here, I worried about the same thing. But I learned that curiosity and respect open all doors. Be curious about their culture. Respect their differences. And share your own experiences freely. That is how we build understanding." The student left feeling encouraged. Da-Hyun watched him go and felt proud. This was the real victory, not the military triumph over the Scraith, but the lasting peace that followed. Admiral Tai-hyung, now retired, lived on Earth in a small house overlooking the ocean. He spent his days writing his memoirs and advising the new generation of leaders. Young officers came to him seeking wisdom about difficult decisions. One such officer, a captain named Seojin, visited him with a moral question. "Admiral, what if we receive a distress call from a species that does not share our values? What if they are cruel or unjust? Do we still help them?" Taehyung thought carefully before answering. "We help them survive the immediate threat, but we also engage with them honestly about our concerns. We do not force our values on others, but we do not hide our beliefs either. The goal is not to make everyone human. The goal is to ensure everyone has the chance to grow and change on their own terms. And if they refuse to change, then we continue to engage with them," Taehyung said. "Change takes time, sometimes generations, but isolation only makes things worse. By staying connected, by showing them alternatives through our actions, we plant seeds. Those seeds may take years to grow, but they will grow." Captain Seojin left with much to think about. Taehyung watched the sunset over Earth's ocean and thought about how far humanity had come. From a single planet wondering if they were alone, to a species that dozens of civilizations called friend. Back on Thessara Prime, a new generation was growing up who had never known the Scraith threat. For them, humans were not saviors from a desperate time. They were neighbors, teachers, friends, and sometimes rivals in sports competitions. A young Veilon named Kira played soccer with a human boy named Junho in the park. They argued good-naturedly about who was winning. Nearby, their parents watched and chatted about normal things: work, weather, school. This was the true measure of victory, not monuments or military parades, but ordinary life. Children playing, parents relaxing, the simple peace that had once seemed impossible. Admiral Jiho received word that another distress call had come in. A species called the Drithani were facing a natural disaster. Volcanic activity on their homeworld threatened to make it uninhabitable. "Prepare the fleet," Jiho ordered, "and contact General Wu Jin's team. We will need geological experts." His first officer hesitated. "Sir, the Drithani have a reputation for being isolationist and difficult to work with." "Then we will show them the value of cooperation," Jiho said. That is what we do. The Unity and its escort ships jumped to hyperspace. Across the galaxy, other human ships responded to other calls. Medical ships, engineering ships, science vessels, all working under the Death World Accord to help species in need. The Scraith were long gone, extinct or fled to unknown regions of space. But the lesson they taught remained. The galaxy was dangerous. Threats could emerge anywhere. But the galaxy was also full of potential allies, species who would help each other if given the chance. Humanity had learned this lesson on Earth, where survival meant cooperation. Now they taught it to the stars. In the Hall of First Contact on Earth, new plaques were added beside the original one. Each represented a species that humanity had helped. The Veilon, the Tessians, the Olympians, the Drithani, and more. The original message remained at the center. Aliens begged for salvation. They never thought humans would come. They were wrong. But someone had added a new line below it in careful script. And humanity never stopped coming. Counselor Vecthara stood before the monument on Thessara Prime one last time. His 3 hearts were failing. The physician said he had days left, maybe weeks, but he was not afraid. He touched the stone carving of the human soldier offering a plant to the Veilon child. "Thank you," he whispered, "for everything." That night, Vecthara died peacefully in his sleep. The entire planet mourned. Humans and Veilon gathered together for the funeral ceremony, mixing their traditions in a way that honored both cultures. Admiral Jiho attended personally. He stood beside Vecthara's family and spoke at the service. 3 months passed after the battle. Thessera Prime celebrated its first festival in 4 years. The planetary shields were down, no longer needed. The skies were clear. Cities were rebuilding. On the horizon, the former Skreath High Hive orbited as a small green moon. The Velon had named it Humanity's Gift. Commander Jiho stood in the rebuilt central plaza watching Velon children play. Beside him, Counselor Vecthara observed the same scene with complicated emotions in his 3 hearts. "We can never repay this debt," Vecthara said quietly. "We do not want repayment," Jiho replied. "We want allies, friends. Why? You could have ignored our call. The rest of the galaxy did." Jiho thought carefully about his answer. "Because we remember what it is like to be alone. When humanity first reached for the stars, we were terrified of what we would find. Would we be welcomed? Enslaved? Destroyed? We were alone. That feeling was terrible. We learned that strength means nothing if you only use it for yourself. But you are so powerful," Vecthara said. "Because we had to be. Earth made us hard, Counselor, but it did not make us cruel." News of the Skreath's defeat spread through the galaxy fast. The Krell Empire, which had dismissed humanity as primitive, suddenly requested diplomatic relations. The Tessian Concordat offered trade agreements. The Olympian Federation proposed a military alliance. Everyone wanted to be friends with humanity now that they saw what humans could do. Admiral Taehyung addressed the Galactic Council for the first time. He stood before representatives of 47 different species in the Grand Chamber. "Humanity greets the Council," he began. "We are aware that many of you consider us brutish, violent, uncivilized. You are not entirely wrong." Surprised murmurs ran through the assembly. "We come from a world that showed us no mercy, so we learned to show no mercy to threats. But we also learned something else. The strong must protect the weak. On Earth, animals that work together survive better than those that work alone. Communities thrive where individuals fail." He gestured to the Velon delegation. "The Velon called for help and we answered, not because we expected reward. We helped because it was the right thing to do. If that makes us uncivilized in your eyes, we accept that judgment." The Krell ambassador, a towering figure with metallic skin, spoke up. "Your methods are disturbing. The biological weapons, the Genesis Protocol, these things could threaten all galactic life." "They could," Taehyung agreed calmly. "But they will not. We know the danger of what we created. That is why we are proposing something new." Taehyung presented humanity's proposal. He called it the Death World Accord. "Humanity will serve as the galaxy's shield against biological and existential threats," he explained. "When extinction-level events occur like the Skreath, humanity will respond. But we will do so under Council oversight. Representatives from all civilizations will be present to ensure we do not abuse our capabilities." "And in exchange?" asked the Tessian representative. "Knowledge, technology, culture. We want to learn from you and grow with you. And we want you to learn from us. Earth may be a harsh teacher, but her lessons keep you alive." The council debated for 3 full days. Ambassadors argued about risks and benefits. Some feared humanity's power. Others saw the value in having such powerful allies. In the end, the vote passed with overwhelming support. Humanity was officially welcomed as a full member of the galactic community. General Wu Jin traveled to the 16 reclaimed Velon worlds with his team of xenobiologists. They needed to ensure that the Earth ecosystems integrated properly without overwhelming native species that had survived the Skreath occupation. On Thessera 7, Wu Jin helped Velon scientists modify the introduced cacti to produce edible fruits that tasted like the planet's original plants. "Life adapts," he told the scientists as they worked. "That is what it does. Your worlds will be different now, but different does not mean lost. The Earth species and your native species will learn to coexist." A Velon botanist examined a hybrid plant that showed characteristics of both Earth and Thessera biology. "This should not be possible. The genetic structures are completely incompatible." "Life finds a way," Wu Jin said with a smile. "That is another thing Earth taught us. When you think something is impossible, life proves you wrong." Lieutenant Da Yun accepted a permanent position as Earth's ambassador to the Velon Collective. She established cultural exchange programs. Young Veilon scientists traveled to Earth to study at universities in Seoul, New York, and São Paulo. Human researchers visited Thesara Prime to learn Veilon engineering techniques. The exchange was beneficial for both species. Veilon learned about biological sciences and adaptive thinking from humans. Humans learned about advanced energy systems and quantum mathematics from Veilon. Private Hyunwoo, the cheerful Marine who had used a flamethrower during the battle, discovered he quite liked Thesara Prime's peaceful culture. He requested reassignment to the permanent Earth Embassy. He opened a small restaurant serving fusion cuisine, Korean barbecue with Veilon spices. The combination sounded strange but tasted wonderful. The restaurant became extremely popular with both humans and Veilon. Food brings people together, Hyunwoo said as he served customers. It does not matter if you have 2 arms or 4, 1 heart or 3. Everyone appreciates good food. Captain Ji-won received a promotion to admiral. She was given command of the Wildfire Battle Group, 7 ships tasked with patrolling the frontier systems. Under the Death World Accord, her group would respond to emergency calls from any civilization that needed help. "We are not conquerors," Ji-won told her crew during the commissioning ceremony. "We are protectors. We help those who cannot help themselves. That is our purpose now." 6 months after the liberation, Commander Ji-ho prepared to return to Earth for his next assignment. Counselor Vecthara met him at the spaceport. The location had been rubble during the siege. Now it was a gleaming hub where multiple species worked together. "I wanted to thank you," Vecthara said, "not just for saving us, but for teaching us." "Teaching you what?" "That strength and compassion are not opposites. That the fiercest warriors can also be the gentlest friends. That being dangerous and being good are not mutually exclusive." Ji-ho clasped the Veilon's upper arm in a gesture of respect. "You taught us something too. That the galaxy has wonders worth protecting. That not everyone solves problems with violence. That civilization is not weakness. It is an achievement. Will you visit again?" Vecthara asked. "Try to stop me," Ji-ho smiled. "Besides, someone needs to make sure Private Hyunwoo's restaurant maintains proper standards." They laughed together. The sound carried across the spaceport. Human and alien. Different but harmonious. 1 year after Thesara Prime's liberation, the Veilon Collective unveiled a monument in the central plaza. It showed a human soldier kneeling beside a Veilon child. The soldier offered a small plant growing from cupped hands. The inscription was written in both Veilon script and human standard. They came from a world that knew no mercy, so they learned to grant it freely. They were forged by hardship, tempered by survival, and refined by compassion. When we called into the darkness, they brought light. When we begged for salvation, they brought hope and friendship. This monument honors humanity, not because they saved us, but because they reminded us what it means to be saved. Below, in smaller text, it read, "In memory of the Veilon lives lost, the Scraith victims remembered, and the human warriors who taught us that even from death worlds, life finds a way." Admiral Taehyung reviewed reports from across human-occupied space. The Death World Accord was proving successful. 3 more civilizations had requested assistance with biological threats, ecological disasters, and 1 case of an artificial intelligence outbreak that human specialists contained before it became system-wide. Earth's population embraced their new role. Where once humans wondered if they were alone in the universe, now they knew they were part of something larger. Where once they feared being vulnerable, now they understood that their greatest strength was their willingness to help others. On Thesara Prime, Counselor Vecthara watched the sunset. The green moon rose on the horizon where a Scraith hive once threatened existence. Veilon children played in parks where earth grasses grew alongside native plants. It was a living symbol of 2 worlds finding harmony. In orbit, the UES Indomitable prepared for departure. Commander Ji-ho reviewed mission parameters with his crew. They were heading toward a distant system where another distress call had been received. "Think we can make a difference?" his first officer asked. Ji-ho looked at the reports from Thesara Prime. The rebuilt cities. The thriving ecosystems. "The peaceful coexistence of human and Veilon cultures we already have," he said. "Let us do it again." The ship jumped to hyperspace, carrying hope to another desperate species. Behind them, Thesara Prime continued its recovery. Life spread across the 16 reclaimed worlds. Green replaced gray. Hope replaced fear. The Scraith were not forgotten. Archives maintained records of their attacks, ensuring vigilance remained high. But they were remembered not as the enemy that nearly destroyed civilization, but as the catalyst that brought humanity to the galactic stage and proved that even the harshest origins could produce the most steadfast friends. The 17 Screeth reinforcement bioships emerged from hyperspace expecting an easy victory. Instead, they found 12 human vessels waiting in attack formation. 5 more human ships had arrived from Sol system during the battle, bringing the total fleet to 12. Admiral Taehyung broadcast a message on an open frequency, translated into the Screeth's chemical language. You consumed 16 worlds belonging to the Velon Collective. You will return them. The Screeth response was predictable. All 17 bioships attacked as one coordinated swarm, using the tactics that had conquered system after system. The human response was not predictable at all. Deploy the Eden Protocol, Admiral Taehyung ordered. The human ships launched thousands of small pods toward the Screeth bioships. Vecthara expected weapons. Instead, the pods contained something far stranger. Seeds, bacteria, algae, living things from Earth. When the pods impacted the bioships, the organic hulls became feeding grounds. Within minutes, Earth plants began growing on the Screeth vessels at impossible speeds. Vines cracked through chitinous armor. Roots penetrated deep into biological systems. Modified bamboo grew 3 feet every hour, splitting the bioships apart from the inside. On Earth, General Wu Jin explained to the watching Velon, plants are the dominant life form. They cover most of our planet. They have been competing for resources for 400 million years. The Screeth are just another resource to them. The bioships twisted and died, consumed by aggressive Earth vegetation. Green growth spread across their black hulls like a disease. Within hours, the 17 ships were more garden than threat. With the immediate danger neutralized, Commander Jiho presented his plan to the Velon Council. A holographic display showed all 16 conquered worlds, each marked with Screeth infestation levels. Standard military doctrine would be to quarantine these systems, Jiho said. Wait decades for the Screeth to die naturally, then reclaim what remains. That is the civilized approach. And the human approach? Vecthara asked. We take them back, now, all of them. A Velon general named Kelthor objected. He was a veteran with 4 strong arms and countless battles in his memory. That is impossible. Each world has thousands of bioships and billions of ground parasites. The ecosystems are completely corrupted. It would take centuries of siege warfare. A young human named Lieutenant Da-hyun smiled. She was a xenobiologist on Wu Jin's team. General, how long did Earth's ecosystem take to recover after the dinosaurs died? Kelthor checked his database. 65 million years for full recovery. Wrong question, Da-hyun said. How long did it take for life to return? Thousands of years. Wrong again. Life returned within months. Earth does not wait for permission to regenerate, and neither do we. The human fleet divided into strike groups. Each group targeted one of the 16 conquered worlds. They carried payloads that both horrified and fascinated the Velon observers. Captain Jiwon led Strike Group 1 to Thesara 4, a former agricultural world. The planet's surface was nightmare of Screeth corruption. Writhing biomass had replaced peaceful farmlands. The atmosphere was thick with sulfur. Deploying atmosphere processors, Jiwon announced. The human ships launched orbital platforms, but these were not normal machines. They were biological, giant floating bladders filled with modified algae that consumed sulfur compounds and produced pure oxygen. Now for the surface, Jiwon said. The ships fired thousands of pods at Thesara 4, but they were not firing weapons. They were firing life. Each pod contained a complete ecosystem packed into a small container. Fungal networks that could break down any organic matter, bacteria that fixed nitrogen in soil, aggressive plant species, predatory insects engineered to feed on Screeth biology. The Screeth tried to fight back. They sent bioships to destroy the pods, but every bioship that approached became food for the spreading Earth ecosystem. Every parasite that attacked the fungus got infected and turned into a spore-spreading zombie. Within 72 hours, green shoots were visible from orbit on Thesara 4. Across the other conquered worlds, similar transformations occurred. On Thesara 7, a desert world, Ensign Kungmin introduced bacteria from Earth's driest desert in modified cacti. The cacti grew roots through Screeth underground warrens, poisoning them with natural toxins. On Thesara 11, an ice world, Captain Sunho deployed Arctic lichen and cold-adapted fungi. They outcompeted the Screeth's thermal regulation, literally freezing the aliens out of their own hives. On Thesera 9, a water world, Commander Yuna released genetically engineered kelp that grew 40 feet per day. The kelp produced neurotoxins that paralyzed Scraith aquatic forms. The Veilon watched in amazement as their lost worlds began turning green again, one by one. But the Scraith were not finished. Deep in the Thesera system floated their high hive, a moon-sized biostructure that served as their central breeding facility. It detected the existential threat and began producing bioships at emergency speed. The hive burned through biomass reserves to create a final swarm. 300 bioships launched toward Thesera Prime in one massive wave. Admiral Taehyung received the alert on his flagship. He made a decision that would define the entire war. "Send a message to Earth Command," he said quietly. "Request authorization for Protocol Genesis." Counselor Vecthara, now working alongside the human fleet as a liaison, did not recognize the term. "What is Protocol Genesis?" "It is our final option," Taehyung replied. "The thing we do when we need to ensure a threat never returns." A message came back from Earth, 2 words only. Genesis authorized. A single human ship emerged from hyperspace. The Primordial. It was smaller than a battleship but heavily shielded. Its cargo bay contained something that made even the human crews nervous. General Wu Jin personally oversaw the deployment. His expression was serious. "Counselor, you need to understand something," he said to Vecthara. "What we are about to release cannot be taken back. Once it is out, it will spread, adapt, and persist for thousands of years." "What is it?" Vecthara asked, suddenly afraid. "We call it the Genesis bomb. It is not a traditional weapon. It is a concentrated package of Earth's most aggressive and adaptable species. Bacteria, fungi, insects, plants, and microscopic predators. When they contact Scraith biomass, they will consume it, outcompete it, and replace it with an Earth-based ecosystem." Vecthara's translator struggled with the implications. "You will infect the Scraith hive with Earth?" "Yes. And these species will die after the Scraith are gone?" Wu Jin shook his head slowly. "No, they will establish permanently. Any planet we use this on will become effectively a new Earth. Earth biology is extremely persistent." Vecthara faced an impossible choice. The Scraith hive had to be destroyed or it would keep producing bioships forever. But accepting the Genesis bomb meant accepting that his home system would be forever changed. An alien ecology would take permanent root. He thought of the 16 worlds already transforming, the billions of Veilon lives lost, the fact that humanity came to help when no one else would. "Deploy it," he said. The Primordial launched a single massive pod toward the Scraith hive. It impacted the surface and cracked open. A sparkling cloud poured out. Trillions of spores, seeds, eggs, and microscopic organisms, all hungry, all adapted to compete and survive. The effect was not immediate. The Scraith hive continued functioning for hours, still launching bioships toward the human fleet. Then patches of green began appearing on the hive's dark surface. The green spread, becoming brown, becoming white with fungal blooms, becoming a rainbow of colors as Earth's diversity expressed itself. The bioship production slowed, then stopped. The hive began to collapse as fungal networks digested its structure from inside. Within a week, the Scraith hive was dead. Within 2 weeks, it was green. Within a month, it was a garden orbiting Thesera Prime like a small moon. The battle for the Thesera system was over. The Scraith were extinct in this region of space. The 16 conquered worlds were being reclaimed by aggressive Earth ecosystems. Humanity had won. But Vecthara looked at the green moon in his sky and wondered what price victory had truly cost. The Scraith were gone, yes, but his system was no longer purely Veilon. Earth had taken root in his home. Commander Jiho seemed to sense his thoughts. "Counselor, life adapts. Your worlds will be different now. But different does not mean lost. The Earth species we introduced will eventually balance with your native life. Give it time." "How much time?" Vecthara asked. "Decades, maybe. Centuries for full integration. But you will have those centuries. Without us, you would have had days." Vecthara looked at the human commander. This man from a death world who had saved his species from extinction. "You are right." "Thank you, Commander Jiho. Thank you for giving us a future, even if it is a different future than we expected." Jiho smiled. "That is what allies do. They give each other futures." On Thesara Prime's surface, General Wu Jin walked through the ruins of Karhes with Veilon scientists. Green earth plants were already growing between the buildings, mixing with surviving native vegetation. Your worlds will recover, Wu Jin told them. Life always finds a way. That is what Earth taught us. A Veilon scientist touched one of the earth plants carefully. General, why did your species come to help us? You could have ignored our distress call like the others. The 7 human ships moved into the Thesara system in a strange pattern. Vecthara watched from the command center, confused by their positioning. The vessels did not form a defensive line around the planet. Instead, they scattered throughout the system like seeds thrown by wind. What are they doing? The defense general asked. That formation makes no tactical sense. Vecthara had no answer. Human military doctrine was not in his database. These newcomers fought differently than any civilization he knew. The Screath detected the human ships immediately. 17 bioships broke away from the main swarm and moved to intercept. Each bioship was massive, easily 10 times larger than the biggest human vessel. They looked like giant insects mixed with rotting flesh. Acid dripped from their weapons. Parasite pods covered their hulls like tumors. The lead Screath bioship, a cathedral-sized horror, locked onto the Indomitable. It fired a stream of corrosive liquid that had melted through Veilon battlecruisers in seconds. The weapon struck the human ship directly. Vecthara closed his eyes, expecting to see the Indomitable dissolve. Nothing happened. The acid sizzled harmlessly against the human ship's hull and floated away into space. The Indomitable continued forward as if nothing had touched it. How? The defense general whispered. Commander Jiho's voice came through the communication channel. He sounded almost casual. Counselor, do you know what makes Earth special in your database? Vecthara checked quickly. You are classified as a death world. Class 9 hazard rating. Class 12, actually, Jiho corrected. We updated it ourselves. You see, our planet's oceans are more acidic than Screath weapons. We had sulfuric acid rain for millions of years. Evolution taught us to build things that last. Your ships are designed for civilized space. Our ships are designed to survive Earth. The human vessels opened fire, but not with energy weapons or missiles. They launched canisters that broke apart near the bioships. Gray vapor poured out, spreading through space like fog. The effect on the Screath was immediate and terrible. The bioships began to shake and twist. Their organic armor split open. Black blood boiled out into the void. Within minutes, 17 massive bioships were dead, frozen chunks of flesh drifting in space. What did you do? Vecthara asked, his voice barely a whisper. Another face appeared on the screen. An older human wearing a white coat over his uniform. I am General Wu Jin, xenobiologist. The Screath are fascinating creatures. Almost entirely biological with very little technology. That makes them vulnerable to something we humans understand very well. What is that? Disease, Wu Jin said simply. Earth is not just dangerous because of volcanoes and acid rain. It is dangerous because of the other life. We have been fighting viruses, bacteria, parasites, and fungi for 4 billion years. Every human being carries enough knowledge about biological warfare to destroy an ecosystem. Wu Jin gestured to the dying bioships on his screen. That vapor contains modified Earth bacteria, aggressive fungal spores, and synthetic proteins designed to attack chitin-based biology. The Screath have no immune system complex enough to handle Earth's evolutionary arms race. They evolved to be predators. We evolved to survive Earth. There is a difference. The remaining 30 Screath bioships stopped their attack on Thesara Prime. They turned toward the human fleet instead. All of them moved together like a swarm of angry insects. Counselor, Jiho said calmly, keep your shields up for 6 more hours. We are going to sterilize your system. For the first time in 3 months, Vecthara felt something other than despair. He felt hope. The battle continued for hours. The human ships moved through space in ways that seemed impossible. They accelerated to speeds that should kill their crews. They twisted and turned through the Screath formation, always staying just ahead of the enemy weapons. Each pass left clouds of biological weapons in their wake. The Screath died by the dozens. Their bodies littered space like dead leaves. But the Screath were not stupid. They began to adapt. The surviving bioships started emitting a thick membrane that protected them from the human weapons. 3 ships broke through the defense and crashed onto Thesara Prime's surface. Millions of parasites poured out of the crashed bioships. Each one was the size of a large dog with razor-sharp mandibles and armored shells. They swarmed through the streets of Kar-Hess, the largest city on Thessera Prime. The Veilon defense forces fought bravely. They were excellent strategists and disciplined soldiers, but they were exhausted from months of siege. The parasites overwhelmed them through sheer numbers. For every Scraith killed, 10 more took its place. Vecthara watched the disaster unfold on his screens. We need reinforcements in Kar-Hess immediately. The defense line is collapsing. Help is already on the way, Jiho said. The Indomitable launched 300 drop pods toward the planet's surface. Each pod contained 20 human soldiers in full combat armor. 6,000 soldiers total. 6,000? The defense general looked at Jiho in disbelief. Against millions of parasites? That is suicide. General, Jiho asked quietly, how many Veilon soldiers does it take to hold a position against 100 Scraith? The general checked his combat records. Minimum 30 with heavy weapon support. The Scraith regenerate quickly and attack without fear. How many humans does it take? The general searched his database. He found a record from something called the Battle of Proxima Station. His eyes widened. This says 2 humans held against 100 Scraith. That cannot be accurate. It is accurate, Jiho said. Your people evolved on a paradise world. Stable climate, abundant resources, oxygen-rich atmosphere. You are excellent engineers and strategists because you never had to be warriors. We evolved on Earth. Everything on our planet is either a predator or prey, usually both. We learned to fight before we learned to build. General Wujin's drop pod hit the ground in Kar-Hess. The city was chaos. Veilon soldiers retreated block by block, barely holding the line. Millions of Scraith parasites filled the streets like a living carpet of teeth and claws. Wujin stepped out of his pod carrying a plasma rifle and a simple blade. The blade vibrated at a frequency that could shatter chitin on contact. The first parasite that leaped at him got cut in half. The second exploded when plasma superheated its internal fluids. Behind Wujin, a young soldier named Hyunwoo carried a flamethrower. He grinned as he pulled the trigger. Fire that burned at 3,000 degrees washed over a wave of parasites, turning them to ash instantly. We tested this on volcano vents back home, he shouted cheerfully. Another soldier, Sergeant Bora, deployed small mines that released modified fungus. The fungus was from Earth, a type that turned insects into zombies. Within minutes, infected Scraith turned on their own swarm, spreading the infection exponentially. The human soldiers did not form defensive lines. They advanced. Vecthara watched footage from ground drones. Veilon soldiers fought with careful tactics and measured responses. They retreated when overwhelmed. It was the civilized way to fight. Humans fought like natural disasters given physical form. A squad led by Lieutenant Minho encountered a Scraith mother, a building-sized organism that spawned new parasites constantly. The Veilon had abandoned that sector hours ago. It was considered unrecoverable. Minho's squad did not retreat. They set up a tactical nuclear device and detonated it at close range. The mother and 3 city blocks vaporized. The Marines walked out of their blast-proof positions and continued advancing. They are insane, whispered Vecthara's military advisor. No, Vecthara said, unable to look away from the screens. They are survivors. In orbit, the Scraith bioships abandoned their assault on the planetary shields. All 23 remaining ships converged on Admiral Taehyung's flagship. The Eternal Storm. All ships, Taehyung ordered calmly. Activate Protocol Death World. The 7 human vessels suddenly accelerated to impossible speeds. They wove through the bioship formation in patterns that violated Vecthara's understanding of physics. Each ship left trails of biological weapons behind. How are they maneuvering like that? Vecthara demanded. His science officer checked the sensor data. Her hands trembled as she read the results. The human crews are experiencing 15 gravities of acceleration. That should liquefy their organs. Should, Commander Jiho said from his bridge. But human bodies evolved at 1 gravity on a planet with higher density than standard. Our bones are thick. Our hearts are strong. Our blood vessels are redundant. We have been engineering ourselves to handle extreme conditions for generations. Pain is just information, counselor. By the 14th hour of battle, the tide had turned completely. Only 12 Scraith bioships remained in orbit, all showing signs of biological infection. On the ground, General Wujin's Marines had pushed the parasites away from all civilian centers. The planetary shields, reinforced by human engineers, held at 67% capacity. Then Vecthara's sensors detected something that made his heart sink. 17 new Screeth bioships were jumping into the system. The reinforcements he had warned the humans about were arriving. "Commander Jiho," Vecthara said quietly, "more enemies are coming. I do not know if we can hold." "We can," Jiho interrupted, "and we will. But I need to ask you something, Counselor. After we save your world, do you want revenge?" "What do you mean?" The lights flickered in the command center of Thesara Prime. Counselor Vecthara watched the screens with 3 heavy hearts. Outside the planetary shields, alien monsters called the Screeth surrounded his world. Their ships looked like giant insects made of flesh and bone. They had been attacking for 3 months without stopping. Vecthara's people, the Veilon, were dying. 16 of their worlds were already gone. Billions of people consumed by the hungry swarm. Thesara Prime was the last world left. The shields that protected the planet were failing. In 2 weeks, maybe less, the shields would break. Then the monsters would come. The defense general approached Vecthara. His forearms trembled slightly. "Counselor, we must evacuate. We cannot win this fight." "Evacuate where?" Vecthara asked quietly. "Every world in our territory is dead." The Screeth consumed them all. He looked at the tactical display. 47 enemy bioships circled their planet like predators waiting for wounded prey. More ships were coming from other systems. The Veilon military fought bravely, but bravery meant nothing against endless numbers. Vecthara had already sent distress calls to other civilizations. The Krell Empire ignored them. The Tessian Concordat sealed their borders and refused to help. The Olympian Federation sent a message saying Thesara Prime was a lost cause. Nobody wanted to fight the Screeth. Nobody wanted to risk their own people. "Send one more message," Vecthara said finally. "Broadcast on all frequencies. Emergency band. Tell anyone who can hear that we need help. Offer them everything we have. Our technology, our territory, our complete surrender. Just ask them to save us." The communications officer looked surprised. "Counselor, offering complete surrender to unknown species is extremely dangerous." "More dangerous than certain death?" Vecthara asked. "Send the message." The message went out across space. It traveled through the darkness, reaching system after system. Days passed. No response came. Vecthara watched his world prepare to die. Parents held their children. Soldiers stood at their posts even though they knew it was hopeless. The Veilon were a civilized people. They would face the end with dignity. Then on the 14th day, something impossible happened. A response arrived. The communications officer stared at her screen in confusion. "Counselor, we received an answer to our distress call." "From whom?" Vecthara felt a small flame of hope ignite. The signal originated from the Sol system. The species calls themselves humans. Vecthara accessed the database quickly. Humans. Class 7 developing species. Recently arrived to the galactic stage, barely 80 years ago. Their technology was primitive compared to advanced civilizations. Their ships were small and slow. Their weapons were crude kinetic and chemical devices. The hope in his heart flickered and nearly died. But the message was simple and direct. Coordinates received. "Help is coming. Hold the line." The Veilon Council gathered in emergency session. They looked at the data on humans with growing despair. "They are barely spacefaring," one counselor said. "Their largest warship is smaller than our transport vessels. Their weapons technology is centuries behind ours," another added. "What can they possibly do against the Screeth?" Vecthara listened to the debate. Part of him agreed. Humans seemed too weak, too primitive to help. But another part remembered that no one else had answered. No one else had even bothered to respond. "We will wait for them," he decided. "Hope is better than nothing. Even foolish hope." The council agreed, though few believed salvation would actually arrive. Far away in the Sol system, on a planet called Earth, Admiral Taehyung stood before the United Earth Council. He presented the Veilon distress call. The chamber fell silent as they listened to Vecthara's desperate plea. "The Veilon offer everything they have," Taehyung said, "but I recommend we help them regardless of payment. This is an opportunity to show the galaxy what humanity stands for." The council voted. The decision was unanimous. Humanity would respond. Commander Jiho received his orders on the bridge of the UES Indomitable. His ship was a heavy assault carrier, one of 7 vessels being sent to Thesara Prime. He read the mission brief carefully. The Screeth were a biological threat, parasitic, aggressive. They had consumed 16 worlds in 3 years. Prepare the fleet for immediate departure, Jiho ordered his crew. Plot a course for Thesara Prime, maximum speed. Before leaving, Jiho visited a restricted facility on Europa. General Wu Jin met him in a cold laboratory. Scientists in protective suits worked on sealed containers behind thick glass. Are they ready? Jiho asked. Wu Jin smiled, though it did not reach his eyes. They're ready. The Skreath are about to learn why you don't attack a Death World species. The Veilon database classifies Earth as Class 9 hazard, Jiho said. We updated that classification ourselves, Wu Jin replied. Earth is Class 12. The Veilon don't understand what that means yet. They think of us as primitive because our ships are smaller and our weapons are simpler. They don't understand that we built everything to survive Earth first and space second. Will this work? Wu Jin gestured to the sealed containers. The Skreath are almost entirely biological. No advanced technology, just evolved weapons and armor. That makes them vulnerable to something we know very well. What's that? Earth, Wu Jin said simply. 4 billion years of biological warfare. Evolution is a brutal teacher. The Skreath evolved to dominate other species. We evolved to survive Earth. There's a difference. The containers were loaded onto the Indomitable. Jiho did not ask what was inside them. He trusted Wu Jin. The general had saved human colonies before with his unconventional methods. The 7 human ships left Sol system together. They jumped through hyperspace, racing toward Thesara Prime. The journey would take 3 weeks. Jiho hoped they would arrive in time. On Thesara Prime, Vecthara counted the days. The shields weakened steadily. 10%, 9%, 8%. The Skreath ships grew more aggressive, sensing victory. Any sign of the humans? He asked every day. Nothing yet, counselor, came the answer each time. Vecthara began to wonder if the humans had changed their minds. Perhaps they realized the situation was hopeless. Perhaps they decided not to waste their lives on a lost cause. He could not blame them if they did. Then, on the 14th day after the human response, the detection grid lit up. 7 ships emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the Thesara system. They were small. Smaller than Vecthara expected. The largest was barely 1/10 the size of a standard Veilon battlecruiser. Against 47 Skreath bioships, these 7 vessels looked pathetically inadequate. But they had come. Against all logic, against all reason, the humans had come. A communication channel opened. A human face appeared on the screen. He wore a dark blue uniform. His eyes were calm and steady. This is Commander Jiho of the United Earth ship Indomitable, the human said. We received your distress call, Counselor Vecthara. We're here to help. Please transmit all tactical data on the hostile forces. Vecthara felt his hands shaking as he sent the information. Commander, I must be honest. Your fleet is very small. The Skreath have 47 bioships in orbit and more coming. I appreciate your courage, but I fear you have come to die with us. The human smiled. It was not a happy smile. It was the smile of someone who knew a secret. Counselor, Jiho said, has Earth ever been attacked by the Skreath? Vecthara checked his database. According to our records, no. That's not completely true, Jiho replied. They tried once. 15 years ago. They sent a scouting swarm to one of our colonies, a place called Europa. Population was 40,000. What happened? Vecthara asked, though he suddenly was not sure he wanted to know. Population remains 40,000, Jiho said. Skreath survivors, 0. They never came back. Now you'll see why.